My name is Lauren Marks. When I was 27, I was an actor, director, PhD student living in New York City. And while I was touring a show to the International Fringe Festival in Scotland, it's 2007, right? An aneurysm ruptured in my brain. And when I woke up from my emergency brain surgery, I had a condition called aphasia, and I had largely lost my abilities to speak, read, and write. That is where my life had its major turn. I did have a second brain surgery about 6 months later, but at that point I was back in the United States. And within the next year and a half, I went on to federal disability. I was in the process of relearning my language, and I really didn't know that there was anything like WIPA. I mean, I had this really unusual situation where I was a person with a language disorder that I was, trying actively to get better with, but I also had a story to tell, and those all these interests of my life, my background in the theater, my work with words for so long. I mean, I ended up with the great opportunity to write a book about it. I have a disability and I've got a strange opportunity to work, but I don't want to threaten my medical care because, most importantly, I was 27 years old when this happened, and before I was 30, I had 2 brain surgeries. I was terrified that I was becoming, this was before the Affordable Care Act passed, and I was terrified that I was uninsurable, and and I may have, future issues with this, and I needed to make sure that I had Medicare and that wasn't going to be taken away. I mean, truly, I wouldn't have written a book if I wouldn't have been able to have my medical care, because I need a certain amount of medical supervision, for the rest of my life. And so I found something that said something about Ticket to Work, and mentioned a program on the Social Security Agency website about WIPA, but it was so small and so indistinct that I was just like, I guess I should check this out. There's one at the Verdugo Job Center, but I mean, let's try. So, I mean, I was still struggling with my language, so my mom came with me, and we just, had our first conversation, and we were thrilled. I sat down with my mom and Nina Schultz. She understood that that was going to be at the forefront of my concerns. Your Medicare will be intact for at least 8 years. You don't need to worry about that at all. That is assured. And I was suddenly I didn't know that I had that weight on me until it slightly lifted. I looked at my mom to make sure that she had heard the same thing. As I was developing further, I mean, even at the beginning of the process of coming into the center, I had no idea what the outcome would be, because my language disorder was getting better, and I didn't know how much better it would, how it would become more useful. My skill sets would change, It was a beautiful and productive and very kind interaction that made me fully supported to know that there were other resources if and when I could tap them. And I was so worried until I got those reinforcements that, I could really actually pursue the path that I wanted to pursue. All the support that the VJC initially put the groundwork down, that was the foundation in which the book was possible. And the book was not published by a small place. I mean, I went on to be published by Simon & Schuster. I was on the Today Show. I was featured in the New York Post, and I got reviews from the Washington Post. Working with a very complicated issue that is still being understood, which is like how a brain injury at my age, you know, affects your language and what's possible as far as recuperation, and being able to be thoughtful about writing this book with the support of the VJC and Ticket to Work and WIPA. I mean, all these things made my complicated career goal a possibility, and then, you know, coming into much more success than I would have imagined.